This is April.
And this is Tiffany.
And you're listening to the Tea of Life podcast.
We hope that you enjoy listening today as we dive into this week's episode.
But first, let's talk tea. So today's tea story I'm combining with our life hack because I was searching on Pinterest and I found this. Put dry tea bags in your smelly shoes or gym bags. It will absorb the unpleasant odor. And I thought that was really awesome because A, we're talking about tea and life hacks, and we actually tried this.
You did? Okay, so you actually did it.
Yes, and I tried it in our shoes. We have we converted a toy box to just a shoe box kind of. And so, because it does smell in there, so I threw tea bags in there. And it's actually, I can smell a difference. I can tell a difference. So I think that's exciting.
That's awesome. I wonder if you could get flavored teas like peach tea and stuff and put in there and kind of make it.
I never thought about that. I'm not sure how much tea I want to invest in this project because, you wear shoes every day and it does smell and then tea can become expensive. But anyhow, I thought that was just a good idea.
That's got to be better than putting in like the odor eaters and all those chemicals and stuff. This has got to be a little more natural, a little better, for your bodies and for your feet, right? Because your feet absorb all that stuff.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true. I didn't think about that. So there's our tea story and our life hack combined. Today's episode, we're going to talk all about Tiffany. And she is so excited. You should see her smiling. Yes. She's been waiting for this.
Right. I'm super excited about this.
Super excited. Okay, but first, we've been telling our stories just so you can just get to know us. And today I was listening to a podcast, the God-Centered Mom podcast, and it dawned on me, the gal that was speaking, which we'll put in our show notes, she said, an untold story never heals. And so when I was sharing that with Tiffany just now, it made us think that, we want to get our stories out. We want to share what's been inside of us to, it kind of lessens it validates us and who we are, but it lessens the fear of what people are going to think about us if we don't tell our story. Does that make sense?
And, words have power as long as the words are kept inside of us. But as soon as we get those words out and they're on the outside of us, then they lose their power.
Right.
And we get such a big relief sometimes with just telling somebody our story. And I think that that's one reason why counseling is so important. Maybe you don't go to counseling to get advice and direction, maybe just to use somebody as a sounding board to just be able to tell them your story so they sit there and listen. And a lot of times there's healing just in telling your story. Yeah.
So I just love that little nugget to share with you. So now, Tiffany, do you know what your name means?
Actually, what's funny, I think we talked about on the last episode when we talked about your story, that I never really had looked up the meaning of my name. But it's pretty interesting, I guess, when you start looking it up and you think, oh, okay. But apparently, Tiffany is, it's traditionally given to a girl's name on the Epiphany, which is on January 6th, and which that is a celebration. It's a festival that commemorates the visit of the Magi to the infant Jesus.
That's really cool.
So, I never knew that.
I never knew that the word epiphany was associated with Tiffany because I always say, hey, I had an epiphany, Tiffany, and I'm just chuckling because I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I never knew that either, but but that's pretty cool. But another fun fact about my name is my middle name is actually Pleshette.
What? Can you spell that? I love it.
I know. Pleshettte. But I was named after an actress, Suzanne Pleshette, who was a famous actress in the 70s. My mom absolutely adored her. And so she named me Tiffany and had actually, I think, contemplated naming me Suzanne Plachette. But she had to have a T because my brother is Tony, my sister is Tammy, and I am Tiffany. So yes, we are one of those families. So she had to have a T, so she named me Tiffany Plachette. So that is my name.
I love it. I did not know that. In fact, when you say that, I automatically think bruschetta. For some reason, I go to I'm hungry.
Great.
No, that is really cool. So, sorry, I lost it. And I found out that you are a Georgia peach. You are not a transplant.
I am a Georgia peach. I was born and raised in a small town. Well, actually, it's not so small now, but it was very small when I was born in Canton, Georgia. And my parents were born and raised in Canton, Georgia. My grandparents were born and raised in Canton, Georgia. And my great-grandparents.
Yes.
So I know that this is not normal.
No, it's not.
But yeah, so and there is very likely that it goes back even further than my great-grandparents. But
that is really cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever done one of those family tree studies?
I tried doing some things online just as much as I could find out. And there was actually a lot of stuff that I did find out, very interesting things. But, you can only get so far with those, I guess.
Unless you invest some cash.
Yeah, and I haven't really done that. I think that would be great, but,
So, okay, something that we were just talking about a little while ago when you were sharing your notes. I probably remember this in a conversation we had, but when I read it again, I was thinking, that is so cool. When you were a kid, you had a dream of joining.
I had a dream of joining the Air Force.
That is so cool.
Yes, I did. I was not a frilly little girl, kind of more of a tomboy. I did a lot of, I raced four-wheelers, I rode dirt bikes, I tried to be everyone that I knew in Galaga, and I dreamed of joining the Air Force. My dream was actually to be the first woman to fly the SR-71.
That is really cool. I don't even know what that is. I should have looked that up.
Yeah, it's a plane that is built by Lockheed. And it has a nickname as being, the nickname is Blackbird, but it was actually a spy plane.
Ooh, I like it.
And it was retired.
And none of you, so none of you have, because I was just thinking about you have older siblings, and did any of them interested as well in this, or where did you learn this from? Where did you get this from?
I have no idea. I was one that had, I just loved planes. I don't know. I can't explain it. And even now, when I think about actually, going and getting inside an SR-71, I get butterflies in my stomach. I just get all giddy and excited.
I've seen Top Gun flash in front of my eyes.
I know, right? But, instead of having teen heartthrobs like Michael J. Fox and Kirk Cameron on my walls at home, I actually had models of airplanes and an SR-71 hanging from my ceiling. I had
That's cool.
Posters on my wall of SR-71s, and may or may not have had a poster or two of Sylvester Stallone. As Rambo, of course.
Rambo.
Yeah, so
Rocky for a minute.
Just saying, but that was who I was. Oh. That's what I loved, and yeah.
Okay, I can relate to the tomboy thing, but my dream was Burger King, so that way outweighs my goal as a kid.
Yeah. So when I was young, I actually was involved in the Civil Air Patrol.
Okay.
If you don't know what the Civil Air Patrol is, it's actually the Civil Air Patrol is an auxiliary of the Air Force, and it's non-military. It's for younger generations who are actually interested in possibly joining the Air Force later on, and but they focus more on search and rescue,
very
stuff
cool.
like that. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. So you're born and bred in Georgia, and from a long history of born and bred Georgians.
Yes.
You have two older siblings. And
I do.
But there's a big gap
there is a big gap. My parents, they had their boy and their girl.
Okay.
They were done.
Oh, okay.
And my mom actually went back to college, and she got her a degree in hair design. So she was actually she owned her own hair business for about 35 years. But during this time, she had just graduated college. They had just gotten her salon up and running, and my mom thought she had the flu. And so the doctor was actually treating her for the flu, and then the doctor said, you've had this for way too long. Is there any chance you could be pregnant? And so, surprise! So my brother was 15, my sister was 10, and then there came me. So I've kind of been in like this identity crisis my entire life because, I don't know if you know Kevin Lehman. He's like an amazing author, speaker.
Yes.
But he has
New Kid by Friday.
Yes. But he has a book, and it talks about the birth order.
Oh,
and
yes.
So,
okay.
And so I am actually the baby, but when you have like such a gap between siblings, there's like you're kind of a firstborn and baby.
I get that.
And so he talks about how there's like identity. And I was like, that explains so much when I read that book. I was like, oh my goodness, that was so cool. But there's not a whole lot that I remember my brother and sister being at home.
Right,
there's a few things, but not a whole lot. They got married when I was really young. One thing I do remember though is that I kept begging my sister it was my brother's wedding day, and we came home from the wedding, and I remember standing in the living room at my parents' house, and I was begging my sister to please move out of her bedroom because she was going to move out of her bedroom to go to the bigger bedroom, which was my brother's, because he had just gotten married and moved out, because I wanted my own bedroom because for 5 years my bedroom was actually the laundry room. My parents. But you have to understand, like, my mom and dad have like this massive, huge laundry room that was big enough for a toddler bed and a dresser, and she had it all completely decked out with like Winnie the Pooh, and I totally remember that.
But she'd go in there and do laundry.
Yes. But she would also turn the dryer on at night. Sometimes to get me to go to sleep, and that would and that would mask the noise from other rooms and stuff. To this day, I can still go to sleep with the dryer on.
Just like put your blanket out in front of the laundry.
So I do remember that from being little, but
that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the Civil Air Patrol, that was high school, so getting back on track.
Right, sorry.
Whatever happened to, is there a high school memory that jumps out at you? Not like you took a test and failed it kind of memory, but is there something that when you go back to high school in your mind?
High school was tough. High school was really hard for me. I really never felt like I fit in to any category, like any. You have all these cliques, and you have like all these different people who fit in different. I just never felt like I fit in the area, and it was really tough. That whole identity crisis. I felt like I was trying to find who I was the entire time, and I couldn't. Like, it was just impossible. But I just loved being in Civil Air Patrol. I lost myself in that, and actually in Choi Kwon Do, I lost myself in that, and I took that for years, and I loved it, and it was just amazing, and it was just kind of an outlet for me. But when I was in Civil Air Patrol, and during that time, actually when I was in high school, and then I met a boy. So after that happened, that was pretty much it when it came to my dream of joining the Air Force. So it kind of throws you off track, and nothing else is more important. And I always thought of it as that should not have happened. And there's been plenty of time in my life where I've regretted being thrown off track. But it's in the past few years that I've actually come to terms with the fact that I don't know that the Air Force was really God's will for me anyway. Because when I look back, I know that there was never even though I get like chills and I get excited about that, I don't know that it was a God-given dream. I don't know that was God's plan for me. And I really feel like that, meeting this guy and it throwing me off track, God really used that to kind of bring me back to Him.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of thankful for that time because of that, obviously, because it kind of brought me back to the track of where He wanted me to be. So, yeah.
That's good. I like how God does that. He redeems something. And, we might have a vision or an idea, but it's God that plans our course. I mean, we have our ideas, we have our plans, but He's the one that determines our steps. And I love that verse.
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
So,
totally. Mm-hmm.
Then what happens?
Well, when I was about 18 years old, I started working at Home Depot.
Do you know, I also at 18 interviewed for Home Depot, but I did not get
Oh,
a
no.
job at Home
Oh,
Depot.
no.
I was very sad.
Which one did you interview at?
The one at so Barrett Parkway.
Kennesaw?
Yeah. Was it the Kennesaw where?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
So-
sorry. That's the one that I started working at.
Oh, that's hilarious! That's hilarious. So, yes, I think it was, I might have been 18, 19, but it was around that, yeah. That's funny. Okay.
That is hilarious. Now, what if you would have gotten that job?
That would have been... started this earlier.
I know, right? I know. That would have been really cool.
Yeah,
Really
small
cool.
world.
Totally. Yeah.
So you worked there for about 10 years?
I did. I worked
Wow.
there for about 10 years. It was during that time that I really matured a lot. Like I was able to kind of get my life together, figure out who I wanted to be, and kind of focus on God during that time. God gave me some amazing friends when I worked at Home Depot that I am still friends with today.
Oh, nice.
And so those are like my lifelong buddies, my lifelong friends,
Right.
And so it's just, it's been absolutely amazing. Just even now, reaping the benefits of starting that job at 18.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So it was during that time that I actually met my husband.
Okay. Did he like check out a tool or something and go through a line?
No.
Because I've seen his garage.
Oh, yeah.
It probably started back then.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast, I'm sure.
Your husband's tools. Yeah.
Yes, he does have a lot of tools. Certainly does.
So you met him. Okay.
Yeah, so I met my husband during that time when I was about 23.
Okay.
And we met actually through a mutual friend. His name is Brad Bradley. And Brad went to my church with me, and we had actually gone on a mission trip to Guatemala together.
Okay.
And we just became really good friends. And he approached me one day and asked me if I would enjoy or help him with a music video that he had been hired to produce. Now, a little backstory: I had already been working with Brad a little bit with camera work and just different stuff at our church. And so, with us being friends and with the already established kind of work,
Right.
So he asked me if I would like to work with him on this music video, and I said, sure, why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? So I went in as production assistant for a music video, and this band was actually a local band, and didn't really know who they were. They had actually come into the church that I went to at one point and played like a small concert for a few people, and it wasn't even a big thing. And I remember going there, and my friend kept saying, I know you know them. I know you know them. I know you've heard their music. And I said, no. And she kept playing this music. I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. Like, I have no idea whatsoever. Never heard this music. Never heard these people. Nothing. And so it was just a few weeks after that Brad had asked me to come and work on the music video. And so I agreed and went, and it was like a week-long process. And so when I went to work on the music video, I was not there to meet anybody.
Right.
I was there to work.
You were there to work.
And to have some fun. I mean, honestly, it was a lot of fun. So the whole week that we were there, I actually did not talk to Brandon that much.
Right.
Okay, so Brandon is the drummer for this band. And so I didn't really talk to him that much. And then after the week was over, I ended up sending a card to the band and saying, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to work with you guys. And if you ever need any more help on anything, here's my contact information. Right. So apparently the card went around to each person in the band, and then Brandon got it, and he wanted to call me to thank me for sending the card.
That was so sweet of her.
So out of the blue, I get this phone call from him, and what's funny is like we didn't talk hardly the whole time that we were there in person together, but then once he called me, we talked for like 3 hours on the phone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. But during this time before he actually called me, whenever I would pray, I would get a vision of his face.
Really?
It was the weirdest thing. It was weird. And so I would get a vision, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, something's wrong. Like, I need to pray for this guy. Like, something is not right with him.
Something's there.
So I kept praying for him, not realizing that I was actually praying for my future husband. So
I love it. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. That is really cool. So you met, and then he called. Okay, so he calls, and did you do any more videos after that?
I did not do any more videos after that. He invited me out. We went on a date like a week later. And then we actually agreed to be friends for like 3 months.
Okay. All right.
And we wanted to get to know each other.
Right.
And then literally on the anniversary of that third month, I remember him saying, okay, so now it's today's day. What do you think?
Let's go to the next step. Yeah, let's get this process moving. Okay. So then what did you do? I mean, so they're still, okay, are you going to tell them more about the group? Yeah, like I want to know. So you did the video, right? And he's still in this band, and you're still doing your thing at Home Depot. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so then he is going on tour, or how did you get connected? What's happening? Because I want to tell my funny story that has to do with that.
Okay, well, tell your funny story.
Well, my funny story is, okay, so she's just telling you about Brandon being in this band, and her friend had said, hey, I'm sure you've heard this band. You've heard this band? She's like, no. Well, around the same time, I actually, like, I don't know this band, but I know of this band because I have their music. So we don't find this out till later. Is this where you want to tell? So in a minute, she'll share more about how, as a groupie, how she got to, be with the band. But fast forward, it's a couple years later. We're at this Bible study. Tiffany and I are at this Bible study, and she brings a friend, and she introduced me to the friend. And so I, of course, asked, "How do you guys know each other?" Her and her friend. And she said, "Oh," the friend says, "Our husbands are we're in a band together." And I said, "Oh, really? What band?" And she says, "The Waiting." And I was like, oh, "Are you kidding? I had their CD. I saw them in Cornerstone." And Tiffany thinks I'm joking at this point, like just trying to bait her.
I kind of thought that she was
I was like,
she was being mean.
I really did. I remember I had a picture of that because I took a picture when I was at Cornerstone. I remember that year we took youth there. Yeah, so that's funny. Like it still baffles me to this day that I was in the same spot as Brandon and the group and didn't even know them until years later. It's just God is funny like that to me.
Yeah, that is really cool. That's really cool. So Home Depot and then Cornerstone.
I could have met you at Home Depot.
How many times have we crossed paths?
That is so true.
In the past 20 years. That is crazy. That is really crazy. So, I'd love to see like a video of our lives.
That's right. So when we get to heaven and sit down for our video with popcorn and M&Ms, and I'm having Dr. Pepper with my movie snack. Anyhow, so back to you. Okay. Did you get to travel with the baby? Oh wait, you didn't tell me how you got. So you got married.
Okay, so yes,
it's your story.
So Brandon and I got married about a year and a half or so after we met, and he actually asked me to marry him on the exact day that we met.
Aww.
A year later, which was really
got
cool.
it.
Yeah, and
he send you a card.
Yeah, and I called him back to thank him for the card. That's what it was. Yeah. So we got married, and then I continued to work for Home Depot for a while, but then an opportunity came up for me to be able to leave Home Depot. Actually, I went part-time with Home Depot, and I was able to work that out because I had an absolutely amazing manager. I was working for Amazing Manager at that time. But I went part-time with Home Depot, and then I had an opportunity to start traveling with my husband on the road.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. There was a wife who was actually on the road at the time. The singer's wife, Shannon, was actually on the road too. And so it was just really cool. It was a great opportunity. I don't know that I would do it now. Back then, it was a great opportunity. But I went on the road with my husband, and I was their truck driver. So this truck is actually, it's about a 25-foot long box truck.
Oh my God.
Okay. And then on the back of that was like an 18-foot trailer. Okay. So here I am, little 5'4", driving this huge truck. It made stopping at truck stops very interesting. But
the looks you must have got.
Yeah, I know. This truck was actually converted into like a travel truck, kind of like what you would see NASCAR drivers doing. They have like the bunk inside the truck, and then they have the cargo area in the back. So that's very similar to that. So, we would pull up at these truck stops, and I would stop, because I'd have to go to where the diesel side, where all the truckers were, and to fill up. And I would hop out, and the truckers would kind of look at me kind of weird, like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then all of a sudden we'd have like 12 people jump out the back of the truck. And so it was,
nice.
Yeah, so it was pretty interesting. It was a lot of fun, but I did that for a while. That was probably the hardest job I have ever had in my entire life, because you leave a gig at night. You're probably leaving around midnight or so,
right?
And then you have to drive all night long in the dark, all night long until 7, 8 in the morning, and then you have to obviously arrive safely,
right.
But you get so tired. I mean, exhausting, and I totally know. I don't know if you've ever heard the term black dog.
No, I haven't.
So truckers use this term called black dog, and it's basically when you get so incredibly tired that you start seeing a black dog run down the road.
Okay.
I literally have seen that black dog. I mean, it is real. Like, you are driving at night, and all of a sudden you literally see a black dog running with you as you're going down the road. It is the weirdest thing. It's hallucinating and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So, I have a lot of really good stories about being the truck driver for the band, but that was really the hardest job I have ever had. It was so hard.
That does sound hard. Did you have a handle? Like, you break a breaker one night, this is...
I did, but I don't remember what it was.
Sorry.
I don't remember.
Curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because it was before cell phones. Like, I don't even think I had a cell phone at that point. And so, we went with CBs, and I did, but I don't remember what it was.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, a lot of interesting talk goes on in those things too. You hear a lot of really cool.
I bet.
Yeah. So, anyway, moving right along.
Let's table that.
So I went from that, and then I helped with merchandise. I helped sell merchandise and set up all the merchandise table. I helped design some T-shirts and design and come up with some of the different merchandise things that they had. I worked as a World Vision rep for a little bit. And then in 1998, the band The Waiting had the opportunity to go on tour with the Newsboys and Third Day. And it was a Newsboys Step Up to the Microphone tour. And
that's cool.
I was actually hired from the Newsboys to be a camera operator.
Oh, wow.
And so I was hired at the beginning to run I don't even know how long it is. A jib. Do you know what a jib is?
I do not.
Okay, so a boom. Okay, so it's like this.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so it's a boom. Okay, so basically it's a big long thing that has like a camera. Yeah, it has a camera on the end of it, and then you're actually back in the back, working that. Yeah. So I was hired in the beginning to work that, and then I moved from that to being like the number one. Not number one as in like number one,
right.
but the number one, number two, number three, number one camera.
Yes, I guess.
So that was me. So I moved from the jib to camera number one. Okay. Which was actually filming Peter Furler on stage. So basically my job was to follow him on stage for the entire concert, every concert. Yeah, so that was my job. And then Brandon actually started working. They actually had hired him on, and he started working the jib at that point. So
you guys get to do that together.
So it was really, really cool. So
I love it. Okay, so how long were you on the road?
Oh, gosh. We were on the road for, Brandon was on the road for about 12 years or so. I was only on the road for just a few years. When we first got married, we had made a plan. We had made a 5-year plan to basically start a family in about 5 years.
Right.
And so Brandon had decided that he wanted to possibly not be on the road anymore after we started a family. He didn't want to be a traveling dad. Right. It works for some people. Some people, unfortunately, it does not. And so he just really wanted to be home with the family, and that was totally fine. So he had actually told the band when we got married that this is our 5-year plan.
Right.
And this is just letting you know what's going on.
Heads up.
So about 4.5 years into our marriage, I found out that I was pregnant with our first son. And so it was actually perfect timing. So he actually gave them notice at that point, and then he decided to come off the road and get a real job.
Right.
Sounds so he actually ended up getting a job at a church. Okay. So that was his real job.
Yeah.
So he decided to get a real job at church. So that was So he worked at our church. He ended up being hired on at our church that we were going to at the time in the media department, and then I was actually hired on in the children's department.
Okay.
And
same church. Okay, so
same church,
same place. That's nice.
So we're actually able to move from one place to another in the same. Yeah, it was really cool.
Nice.
So when we came off the road, and I found out I was pregnant, we came off the road, and I decided I was going to get a real job or move it.
Right.
I started applying for different positions at just back to Home Depot or just back in different places. Right.
Home Depot.
So I landed a couple of interviews, and there was one that I went back and was interviewing, and I was in the office of this lady, and it was at Home Depot corporate, and I'm literally sitting there in the office, and she's interviewing me, and I'm talking to her, and this feeling just came over me that this is not, you do not need to be here.
Wow.
Like, this is, no.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps.
And so I literally stopped the interview, and I said, I am so sorry. This is not the job for me. I do not want to waste any more of your time.
Wow.
I am not supposed to be here. This is not where I need to be right now. And I left.
Wow.
I know, like, how often does that? I mean, like, I'm like, when I think of that, I'm like, I did that? Like, really?
Who does that?
Who does that? Like, what?
Said no one ever. Let me not be here.
I know. So I think I know I threw her off just as much as I did me, but I didn't want to waste her time. I knew I wasn't supposed to be there.
Exactly.
I didn't want to, and so I ended up leaving that interview, and I was like, God, what just happened? What? And so God led me to the children's ministry at my church. Okay. And so we were really good friends with who was the children's pastor at the time. And he called me, and I don't even know how he even knew this, but I came home one day to an answering machine recording, okay? So I came home, and I got this recording that said, hey, Tiffany, I hear you're looking for a job, and I'm looking for an assistant. Wow. So why don't you come in, and we'll talk and see what we can do. And I know. And I said, how did you find this out? I still don't even know how he found this out, because I hadn't really been sharing with anybody that I'd been looking for a job. And so I go in, and he starts telling me about the job, and it's part-time, and he starts telling me about the pay, and I'm literally sitting there going, this is crazy. Are you serious? Yeah. Like, I'm looking for a job in corporate America. Like, this is not, and I'm looking for a full-time job. And so basically, I left the interview. I ended up calling him back because I had never gotten any more phone calls from corporate America. Nobody was calling me. Absolutely nobody was calling me. So it's not like I was bombing interviews. Like, I didn't even get a chance for interviews. And so I ended up calling him back, and I said, okay, look, here's the deal. I need a job, and you need an assistant. I know this is part-time, but I'm just letting you know, I am still looking for a full-time job. Right. I will do this for you. I'll fill in. I'll help you out. And you continue looking for an assistant. I'm going to continue looking for a full-time job. And then, just you help. I'll help you. You help me in the meantime. And I remember him going, okay. Yeah. And I literally remember him going, just
laughing.
And so I went in for the job, and I was assistant to the children's pastor. And I think
this is the regional manager.
I know that's exactly what I just thought of too when I said that.
Yeah,
The office. The office. So I was assistant to the children's pastor, and so I went in, and the assistant part, like as far as administrative goes, I rocked that. Like I was totally good with that. I had it. I was good. All that stuff, totally fine.
Even now, and yes,
totally fine. Then Sunday came, and I was supposed to be on the hallway with the kids. And I had to go in to, I had to assist all the teachers, and then if they needed help, I had to have to go and help them and all that stuff. And I remember walking up and down that hallway thinking, I hate this. This is not me. I am not in children's ministry. I do not teach. I spoke about that in my homeschooling podcast. I was not a teacher at that point. I did not like I did not like kids. I did not want to be where I was, and I was miserable. And I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. I do not want to be here with these kids. This is, and so
this is my job.
Yeah, and so I left there thinking, this is ridiculous. Like I have to get another job. This is ridiculous. And so this was within the first week. But I never got a phone call. I never got a call back for an interview. And then he never hired anybody else because I guess he knew that I wasn't going anywhere. So I, after like a while, like God just really started working on my heart to the point to where after I ended up working there for about 6 years total. Okay. And so
after the first week,
I hate that. I know. So I ended up working there for about 6 years in the children's ministry, and I ended up absolutely falling in love with the children's ministry. I loved it so much, and I did not want to leave when God was calling us to leave. I did not want to leave, and I fought tooth and nail. But I fell in love with the kids. I fell in love with the people. I just fell in love with the whole, what it was and what it meant, and just the relations, really nice. The relationships that I had made, and I just fell in love with it. And to this day, I absolutely love children's ministry, and I love being around the kids, and I love that excitement, and I love seeing the kids just like love Jesus, and I love seeing,
when they get it.
I know, I love it. So God knew, like I went from absolutely hating it to absolutely loving it.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So to this day, I still love being around in children's ministry. It's one of my favorite things.
I don't like this at all. I'm going to stay here 6 years. Only God.
I know.
Only God.
So everywhere we've gone since then, I've immediately gotten involved and jumped in and gotten involved with the children, because that's just in the children. Yeah, that's where I love it.
I wonder if that your then boss saw that over you. Maybe he saw that you had that potential and that gifting, and for you to go, I'm not really into this. So he probably was like,
I'm sure he did. Knowing him, he knew.
Yeah. So he's just like, yeah, sure. You can, you can run, but you can't hide. So, so you fell in love with children's ministry. That's good. That's refreshing. So, okay.
So then, at that point, I'm pregnant, and we are actually living in an apartment in Canton that is really actually another God story, but it was time for us to find a house, because it was a one-bedroom apartment, and you can't have a baby in a one-bedroom apartment. It just doesn't work, I'm like, what in the world? So whatever. So anyway, it was time for us to buy a house at that point. At least that's what we were thinking. Okay. And God was leading us into that direction as well. But we had just come off the road. And so not really making a whole lot on the road. And then we went to part-time work, which was actually like huge money compared to what we were making on the road. So then Brandon had actually started full-time at our church. And so we were like really looking into buying a home. Well, we have some friends who were at that church at the time, and they were basically like, they were with us from the time from before we got married. Like they were our friends. They were amazing older couple who just really took us under their wing and just loved us as if we were their own kids. We were too old to be their own kids, but they just loved us like that. Okay.
Right.
Just like with that passion of just, and so, the couple had actually, we had spent a lot of time with them in their home, and, she obviously knew that we were pregnant and we were looking for a home. We had shared this with them. So she actually came to me randomly at one point and said, so, did I tell you that we are thinking about building a house? And I said, no, that's great. That's awesome. And so she said, yes, that means we're going to be selling our house. I was like, oh, okay. And this house is actually a house that there were multiple Bible studies, everybody congregated at this house, and everybody would just love to come out and hang out with them, and they welcomed everyone, and there were constantly baby showers, wedding showers, Bible studies, everything was always at this house, okay? And so she came to me and she said, well, that means we're going to be selling our house. And I was like, oh, okay.
Why are you telling
she said, so what do you and Brandon, would you guys think about buying it, be consider buying it? And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, I would love that, but there's no way that we can afford
I would love that
to buy your house. There's just no way. And so
if we're playing with Monopoly money and all,
I know. And so she said, well, I was just wondering, I was just kind of thinking about it. It just kind of came to my mind. And I thought, yeah, that would be amazing, but oh gosh, there's just no way. And so months just passed and she just kept mentioning it over and over again. And finally, the time came to where she said, okay, we want you guys to have our house, whatever it takes. We want you guys to have our house. We need you to go and get approved for a loan because we need to move on this because we have our property. We're starting to build our house. We need to move on this. I need you to go get approved for a loan. And so my husband and I we just kind of looked at each other oh, shoot. We don't make that much money. And so we kept pushing it out and just postponing it and just kind of not going because we were so afraid. And so they pushed us to the point to where we were like, okay, fine. So we went, got approved, and my husband calls me and he goes, okay, I got it. This is the approval and this is the number. And I was mortified. I was like, are you kidding me? That's I got approval. And so the husband, he kept saying, you got to let me know. You got to let me know. So he kept hounding us. Tell me what you got approved for. What did you get approved for? So he and his wife set up a meeting at Johnny's Pizza down the street and said, okay, we're going to be meeting here at this time. We're going to talk about the house. And I was stressed over it the entire day. I was embarrassed. I was I did not want to talk to him about buying the house or anything. And so we get to Johnny's Pizza and I remember sitting there and I had my head down and my kind of resting in my head. I was not making eye contact. And he goes, okay, so I know you guys got approved for a loan. What did you get approved for? And I just kind of looked down at the table and just kind of hid my eyes from him. My husband told him, and he just sat there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. This is horrible. And so the guy and his wife, the husband and wife just sat there and they looked at us and they go, okay. And they said, that's fine. We'll sell you the house for that. And I remember thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? That is crazy. And so they were just so amazing and such a blessing. And I just such an influence on us and such a, they just loved us so much and we just loved them so much. But they ended up, selling us our home and moving into their home, which is absolutely amazing and beautiful. But what's really, really cool is that when Brandon and I got married, we got married on December 14th of 96. And we were trying to plan out our life, okay, and our steps, right?
Right.
And we kept thinking, okay, we want to have a house in 5 years. Okay. We want to have a baby. We want to have a house. Plan our life in about 5 years. We want to start all this stuff, right? So what's really cool is during this whole process of buying this house is when the loan people call you and they say, okay, you have your closing date and time or whatever. They called us and they said, okay, your closing date is going to be December 14th at 2 o'clock, which we got married on December 14th, 1996 at 2 o'clock.
That is...
And then our closing is 5 years later on December 14th at 2 o'clock. Right. It was just the craziest thing. Right. I mean, God was just so awesome. It was so in it, so awesome, and it was just so amazing. So this is where we still live now, and we absolutely love it. We love our home. We love being here. We love the story that it represents, and
they saw in you and they wanted to bless you. I mean, they obviously just loved you as a couple, and they just wanted to just bless you, and they knew that it was a win-win for both of them. I mean, so that's just, I love that. I love that when people just extend mercy and grace and generosity like that. That's amazing. That's God.
And when you have that done to you, like, you want to be able to extend that to other people. So that has been a huge influence on Brandon and me. And we try to kind of help. I mean, obviously we haven't given our house to anybody, right. But we try to help in any way that we can to be able to help other people and to be able to give to them, or just, it's just been.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's been a really big influence on us. That's
a really neat story, and it is a God story. And lots of things happen, and you still do have. You've had Bible studies in this home.
Yeah,
still,
we have. I know.
Showers,
small groups and showers, and we've had. Yeah, we've had wedding showers and baby showers, and we've hosted small group and.
Right.
Yeah, it's been great.
So what else do our listeners need to know?
So, I don't really know. There's a whole lot more. We have, so now after, 15 years, we've been here in this home for about 15 years. We have 2 sons now, and then we have 2 more babies in heaven. And I am a homeschooling mom.
I like it. And we learned about that on the Home Schooling podcast that we did. So that is really exciting. So, okay, so just to kind of wrap up some things, what is something that you're most proud of? I mean, you did a lot of cool stuff. I mean, I loved your story about how you met Brandon and how you guys got to tour and then together came off the road and then worked for a church. And you did a lot of together things. And you were very together people. I just love that. I appreciate that about you. The both of you. Just the way you share with each other, just the way you honor one another. I see that, and that's such an example. So that's really exciting. And your kids are great. So what are you most proud of?
Well, I don't know what I'm most proud of because it's really kind of a broad question with saying what am I most proud of. But I can tell you one thing that I am really proud of would be my 24-hour hike up and down Slaughter Mountain.
Imagine. We need to get some hiking people on the podcast. That just sounds really exciting. Where even is that?
Slaughter Mountain is actually located at Vogel State Park.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Union County.
Okay.
And it's pretty high, pretty steep. It's.
I'm gonna go ahead and say no to that.
I can tell you that once I got off the hike, I swore I was never going to go on another hike and backpacking trip again. Yeah. I hated it. It was horrible. It was the most excruciating thing I think I've ever done. I think it was even harder than childbirth. Wow. Honestly, I really think that it was. And I was in labor for like 23 hours. Okay, so actually it was probably about the same because it was a 24-hour hike and I was in labor for 23 hours. So it's probably about the same, yeah. But yeah, I'm proud of myself now that I'm done and I have it behind me. There's a small, tiny part of me that would like to do it again just so I can maybe have a better attitude next time and go into it.
Different scenery. I mean,
because I know what to expect now. I didn't know what to expect then. And then when it hit me hard and it was hard. And it was like I had a really bad attitude after that for the rest of the time. And then there's a small part of me that like to do it again.
Right.
Just with a different attitude. But there's another part of me that thinks, been there, done that.
Been there, check it out.
Done. I don't want to do that again. So.
Because you do like hiking and you do like.
Love backpacking.
So yeah. So that I could see doing another one because we've talked about it.
Yeah.
We'll go as soon as we
get
you
out on the Appalachian
Trail. Biggest enemy. Last week we talked about my biggest enemy. What was yours?
I really liked yours last week. Your biggest enemy being yourself. I totally understand and completely relate to that. And I was actually thinking that I was going to hijack that this week. But then I've actually been reading the book In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day by Mark Batterson. Amazing book. But I think that probably my biggest enemy is missed opportunities.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
during this entire time reading the book, there's one, like, I think missed opportunity that I feel like that, and I'm not going to go into any detail or tell anything about it, but there was one missed opportunity that I feel like I missed. I totally missed it. And I don't know that I can get it back. And it was like, God had it perfectly set up. And I just totally, completely just flaked out on it. And I kept thinking about that. And I kept thinking, I need the redemption from this. Like, help me, you know, so I think that is my biggest enemy, missed opportunities.
Missed opportunities and what we do with them. And just like you said, you pray. I mean, yeah, I can relate because I've had, obviously, I know I've had missed opportunities. But just someone told me, well, just go back to the Lord and confess it. Confess that you didn't do it. And then ask Him to redeem. Like you said, redeem it. Ask Him for another opportunity. I was like,
and I have been doing that. Nah. I have been doing that over and over again, for sure. Yeah.
Well, okay. I was thinking that one of the things I think is really cool about you, there are two things, and I'm just going to hijack this from you, is I think it is cool that you cut your own hair. I think you get that because your mom, the whole what you were brought up with.
Yeah, my mom owned her own shop for about 35 years, but
people that can cut their own hair and it looks good amaze me. So
what's funny is, like, that's not something I really just kind of advertise and tell people. Because I found that, like, when you do say that, then people kind of look at you and go, oh. They either look at you one of two ways of, oh, that is so cool, or,
that explains
that explains a lot, you know.
Explains that funky line in the back.
I meant for that to happen. So
statement you're making, or did you just not check back there? No, Okay, and then you share your little line that we were giggling about last time. Homeschooling. You are
I'm a homeschooling mom with a motorcycle license. Yes, I do have a motorcycle license.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, this has been fun getting to hear more of your story and just to kind of live this over with you. And I'm encouraged to know more about you. Just getting to know you. This has been great to get to know you a little bit more, and then just doing this with you. It's fun. You're a fun person.
Thanks.
You're just so fun.
Thanks.
So I was wondering if you could cut my hair.
Absolutely.
Nobody can see us. No, actually, yeah. So that's it. We're going to wrap this up, and we do. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's it for today. Tune in next time as we continue to dive into life.
In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us at toflifepodcast.com, follow us on Twitter at toflifecast, or on Facebook at facebook.com/toflifepodcast.
Until next time, in the words of Monty Python,
make tea, not war.